recording and streaming on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025 at 9:18 a.m. Eastern Time with Dr. Dale Comstock and Mr. John Cullen. And as always, guys, you can go to the description. You can find their Twitters. You can find with Dale's book, American Badass, and he has another book coming. I think it's Running On or Living on the Razor's Edge, and that is coming out if it's not already out. And if you're in
No.
Paul, you can go to Dale's bar, and of course, all the other fucking things. Dale has his resume is a mile long. Guys, go in the description. You can follow Colin on Twitter, his YouTube, his Subscribe Star, I believe, and Patreon, and everything. Dale's speaking gigs, coaching, all that stuff is in there. Stem cells and what? Dale is a Swiss Army knife. So I mean. But if you want to train a dog, Dale. You want to go to a bar, Dale. You want to protect a nuclear facility, Dale. Do you need stem cells, Dale? It's the Dale. If I told people about Dale and they didn't know, they'd be like it's like an imaginary friend. They're like, what else does your imaginary? I'm like, no, he really does. It's Dale. He does all this shit. But yeah. So talking about the Vegas shooting in 2017 with, the story that Stephen Paddock was just angry at whatever and just open fired and killed 59 people, 60 including himself, hit over 500, I believe. And the thing that for me, and then I'll hand it over to you, John, the thing that for me has always just above all else, put a red flag above it, is the media jumps on every mass shooting, and to a degree, rightfully so, and they jump on everything that happens under Trump. This was under Trump, and it was the biggest mass shooting ever. You think this would be a feast bigger than Russiagate, but it was never talked about. To me, that right there, they hit Trump on everything. They hit Trump on like using two hands to drink out of a water bottle. The biggest mass shooting in U.S. history under Trump, and no one talks. To me, that just says it's fuckery to the highest level. That they don't attack him on that is so that everything else to me is just fleshing out. It's the scaffolding that John you do so eloquently. But for me, just right there, I go, you didn't hit Trump on that. You hit him on everything but that. Yeah, something's fucky. So I'm gonna hand
Mhm.
it over to you, John. Make sure I'll give you sharing. Yeah, you have screen share. So all yours.
Cool. Well, Dale and I never had a chance to get together and talk about the Vegas shooting. Dale and I first met after the Butler shooting, and I think you said, "Wow, I got to get some of my, Delta Force Special Forces Green Beret guys
Yeah.
to look at some of this ballistic stuff that Cullen's been publishing because if there's some meat on the bone here, this is kind of game changing." So that's when Dale and I first met, right? So we were first talking about the Butler shooting. And it hit me recently. It just kind of dawned on me that Dale and I never had a chance to get together and talk about Vegas. We've
Yeah.
never. So we talked about Butler. I think we might have talked about COVID, or we
Talked about
talked about.
everything, and you
Yeah, we
emailed me
talked.
that. I actually went into my library. I'm like, yeah, we did. We've talked about it. No, we haven't.
No, no.
Yeah,
So
all
we've
right.
done a couple shows together, but Dale and I never got into the whole Vegas shooting thing. And it just hit me that when you think about the event, and we're coming up on the 8th anniversary. All right, so October 1st is what 5-6 weeks away now, right? So we're only 5-6 weeks away from October 1st, and it will be the 8th anniversary of the attack. Tommy shared a couple of the specifics, but if you look at just some of the numbers right up front, something's wrong. 413 people were shot and wounded that night. 413 people shot and wounded. 59 are shot and killed at the venue, plus Stephen Paddock up in the hotel room. So 60 people that night. Two more of the victims, two of the 413 people, succumbed to their wounds and complications within 24 months of the shooting. One of them was a quadriplegic, or lost the use of her arms and legs because of where her spinal cord was severed. So 415 people die from gunshot wounds. Dale, you've seen,
Wait,
right?
415 died?
Excuse me, 413 are wounded. Of the 413, two of those die. So now we're down to 411 wounded.
Okay.
62 die. So
Okay. Sorry,
thank you. 62 people die. In all of combat since D-Day, all right, so forget the storming of Normandy, right? That's kind of a outlier. Since Normandy, in any battle that our forces have been engaged in, did we take 413 casualties in an 11-minute span of time? Anywhere? And the answer is no. There is no record.
None of the island hopping, Okinawa.
Not in 11 minutes.
All right, fair enough.
Not in 11 minutes.
All right.
So, in other words, I'm talking about Vietnam. I'm talking about, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about World War II. I'm talking about 80 years ago.
All right, all right.
I'm talking about, some modern era, right?
Okay.
There's nobody that served in Nam that was ever in a firefight that saw 60 of our guys killed and 400 wounded in 11 minutes. It's important to put this into perspective. And when you've been in combat and you know how long 11 minutes is, when all hell's, going on, 400 people are wounded by gunfire in 11 minutes by one guy. That one guy's making you look like a rookie, Dale. This one guy hit 400 people you haven't hit 400 people in 11 minutes, and you're one of the best to ever do this.
I don't know. Dale's done some shit with explosives. He might have.
All right. So we're talking gunfire. We're talking gunfire.
All right.
400 people in 11 minutes. But here's the kicker, Dale. You only get 1,057 rounds. And with 1,057 rounds, you got to hit 413 people in the dark as they're running with a bump stock in the head. That's the problem. 1,057 rounds is not enough rounds to hit 400 people and kill 59. But go ahead, Dale.
Yeah. So, all right. So add a little bit more perspective to this. So he's shooting basically in depth of light. So he's shooting and it's plunging fire.
Right.
So he doesn't have to hit 413 people and wound them. A very good chance because it is plunging fire. Rounds are ricocheting off the floor or the ground, the street.
Yeah.
And so you get in ricochets hitting people. That's an injury that can be chalked up to a gunshot wound. So if you could look at, if we had the means to look at the medical records and actually go, okay, that's actually definitely a direct hit. That one's a ricochet. That's
just fragmentation.
Yeah. Right? Because others, like for example, copper jacket ammunition, when it hits something hard like concrete, it'll split up, right? So you get secondary fragmentation, tertiary fragmentation.
It's possible. So it's possible.
I would argue that in this scenario, he didn't actually hit 413 people and wounded them. Maybe he only hit a fraction of those, and the rest were wounded by spalling,
right?
And they checked that up as a gunshot wound, right? So
it's possible. Okay, so that's cool. So that's possible, especially shooting into what's kind of like shooting into a barrel. I mean, you're shooting into a stadium type setting. It's people are they're densely packed, so it's somewhat possible. The issue here is that when we study the footage, there is no gunfire coming from 32-135, the suite that Stephen Paddock was in. Yet, we see gunfire coming from the little room next door. There was a little room next door that also had a broken window. There were two broken windows, 32-135, 32-134. We see gunfire coming from 32-134. And it's individual shots. It's a 308 bolt-action rifle. I think it's a Savage. And we see those shots. We see the muzzle blast. We hear the shots. And that's on video. Yet, 1,057 shots coming from the other window, and we don't see any of them. All right? I put together a video that's a compilation that's all the gunfire. Now, when you put all the bursts of gunfire together, it lasts 100 seconds. All right, so it's 1 minute, 40 seconds of nonstop gunfire when you put all the bursts together. It's like they fire a bunch of rounds and they stop. Then they fire a bunch and they stop. Well, I put it all together. And what I did was I isolate on room 32135, which is Paddock's room. What we're looking for is any sign of muzzle flash. We see it coming from the other room. We should see it coming from this room. And we see it coming from the other room with only 8 shots taken. So the Las Vegas Metro Police Department documents that they found 8 brass casings in that little room, and that 8 shots were taken at the fuel tank. There was a jet fuel tank that they were shooting at. Do you remember this part, Dale? And they were like, so there was a jet fuel tank on the other side of the venue. And it appears that they shot at the jet fuel tank, and they showed us marks on the jet fuel tank. I'll show you that in a second. But they look like incendiary rounds. Are you familiar with the zirconium-tipped Ralphus rounds? It's an incendiary round, zirconium-tipped, and when it hits, there's an incendiary inside, and that can be used to ignite diesel or jet fuel. I'm not sure if you've ever had a chance to use any of those, but if you haven't, you might want to get some because they sound like fun.
Ralphus rounds are fucking insane.
Ralphus.
Yeah, they're armor-penetrating incendiary explosive.
Yeah. So it looks like that's what they shot at the tank, because you see you see the black mark on the tank from what looks like the incendiary.
Hold on, Dale was saying something.
Yeah.
No, I was just I had a question. What caliber was that again? Did you?
Well, they tell you the shots coming from the room were 308.
Okay.
Now, I went to the venue and I stood there and I'm looking at this fuel tank, which is 48 feet high and 72 feet wide. I mean, it's the size of a barn. I mean, my grandmother could hit this thing with iron sights, right? I mean, it's not something you're going to miss. It's so big. But it's made out of steel. It's made out of milled, like Corton steel. I mean, it's that when we shoot at metal plates, that's what this thing is made out of. The stuff we shoot metal plates and the bullets bounce off of. So thinking you're going to penetrate that, I believe what they actually fired at it was a 50 cal incendiary from a Barrett at the parking lot. I don't think the shot at the fuel tanks came from the hotel, because a 308's not at 770 yards. There's not enough kinetic energy left to do any damage on steel. Again, we shoot steel plates. Thinking you're going to penetrate a steel plate is kind of, how are you going to penetrate steel plate unless you've got heavy duty stuff? I'll show you the photos. I'll show you photos of the fuel tanks in a second.
I can jump in real quick. The Ralphus round. So that's actually a 50 caliber round,
Right.
the original. And it's armor piercing. It actually has a detonating head to it. So just for perspective for everybody listening out there, the way armor piercing ammunition works, usually you have the bullet, and then within the bullet, there's what's essentially a titanium core inside of it, right? So what happens is the bullet becomes the carrier of the vehicle, and then when it makes contact, that titanium round is then ejected forward because of velocity, and it becomes a secondary projectile that goes through armor. Now, unless if you're just shooting troops behind an armor plate or inside of a vehicle, armored vehicle, what you're going to get is basically penetration. You're going to get maybe fragmentation, but if you want to do some real damage, you want to introduce some type of explosives. And the other thing too, when you hear armor piercing incendiary, all that means is the bullet is armor piercing, has a tungsten core. I said titanium earlier, I meant tungsten core. And then the incendiary does provide some heat and explosives to hopefully detonate anything that's volatile inside the target, i.e. Fumes, maybe other ammunition, things like that. So shooting at 308, I've never heard of a Ralphus round that small.
Right.
And now here's the other thing, the type of steel. So if you're shooting at a fuel tank, that is not any type of level 7 armor or steel. It's gonna go right through that.
Really?
So,
I
yeah.
would think the opposite. I thought that those things are huge and thick steel.
Well, they are, but there's different types of steel, right? So just because it's thick steel doesn't mean it's level 7 where it can actually, stop a bullet. But again, for more perspective, I won't name the facility, but I was doing a threat and vulnerability assessment at a site up northeast.
Mhm.
They were on a river and they had fuel tanks, huge oil tanks, fuel farms, and they had propane tanks, big propane tanks. And for whatever reason, somebody thought it was a good idea to either build a highway going over this facility or they decided to build the facility under this highway. But either way, bad idea because people were driving over the facility and were taking pock shots at these
Oh my God.
yeah, at these containers, these giant tanks and stuff.
God.
And they weren't getting penetration. Now, here's the thing. Look, if you shoot fuel, like let's just say it's gasoline or oil or something like that,
Mhm.
and incinerate around, you're not going to get ignition unless you hit the fumes. See, liquid gasoline does not burn. It's the fumes that burn. So you'd have to hit it at the top, on the top where you've got some type of vapor accumulation. Uh, it's just like blowing up a car, right? You know, if you're going to blow it up, you don't want to put the explosive charge into the gas tank because all you're going to do is, shoot gas all over the place, but that
Right.
doesn't mean it's going to blow up. You want to put it on top of the gas tank. So again, just for perspective, just so people are listening, kind of figure out what does that mean, armor piercing, incendiary, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to add a little bit, I guess, some background information to support your
That's
argument.
exactly right. It's exactly right. And that's why it was a red flag. It's like
Yeah.
armor piercing 308. The hell are you guys talking about? And I just shared with the audience that they found that in the room. So they tell us we found armor piercing incendiary rounds, but they tell us it was 7.62, which is the military equivalent of 308. And like you said, it's really a 50 cal thing. So what the hell are you guys? And now they did arrest a guy named Doug Haig for hand making incendiary rounds. So was this guy selling 308 incendiary rounds at the gun shows? I don't know. What I'm sharing with the audience now and with you guys is the fuel tank. And the fuel tank was hit twice. And you see, Dale, one of those shots is right under the lip of the tank, right at the top there. And you see how it's black. So it looks like something went, bang, the little incendiary charge that's inside the round. But it didn't even dent these tanks. And it appears that the intent was to create an explosion. Like you said, that you have to ignite the fumes. The other thing is that jet fuel won't ignite without the zirconium tipped thing. The zirconium tip thing has this ability to ignite diesel fuel and jet fuel A. Otherwise, in other words, it's not easy to set diesel fuel on fire, but this stuff will. This zirconium tip Ralpha stuff will. So they took 2 shots at the tank, hoping to create an explosion like a Michael Bay movie. This is supposed to be mushroom cloud type stuff. And, everybody going, oh my God, oh my God. All right, let me share with you guys this video clip. This is the compilation, Dale, where I focus on room 32-135, and we're looking for any type of muzzle flash coming from that room. And this is nonstop gunfire. So for everybody in the audience who's a little queasy about this is a good time to step away, go get a coffee or something. You're going to see nonstop gunfire, this Vegas shooting, pretty intense, looking for muzzle flash coming from room 32-135. And I'm afraid you're not going to see any. Here we go. Let's share this video. Can see it, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Now, room 32-135 is right below those 3. You see 3 rooms that are lit up on the end there?
Yeah.
Right below those, 2 floors down, is room 32-135. And we don't see any muzzle flash coming from there. Nothing. Now, what you just saw highlighted there, that's a helicopter flying the wrong way. The tour helicopters are supposed to be flying southbound in that airspace. So that's the airspace behind Mandalay Bay and Delano. It's over the 15 freeway. In fact, that's where the Raiders Stadium is. And when helicopters fly in that airspace, it's the tour helicopters. Maverick helicopter at the time, there was a company called Sundance. They were acquired by Maverick. And they have to fly southbound, which is the other direction. All right, so this camera is looking southbound down Las Vegas Boulevard, and you're seeing a helicopter flying the wrong way in airspace. And it's like, well, who the hell would be doing that? The police have not arrived yet. The police helicopter doesn't arrive till 10:23 after the shootings ended. And Maverick's been accounted for. We saw the Maverick tour helicopters already coming in. Who the hell's flying the wrong way? It's like driving the wrong way up the highway. Somebody's flying the wrong way in this airspace. There's another helicopter. Doesn't appear to have its nav lights on, though. Kind of tough to see. Another one. Flying the wrong way.
Stay down. Against the wall. Stay down. This way. Keep your head down. Keep your head down. Run that way.
Let's go, man. No. Come back here.
Keep your head down. Run that way. Down. Run that way.
So the issue here is we don't see any gunfire coming from the room. There were these Israeli people staying next door or something, and they filmed some footage pointing directly at the room. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. It's like, how is it that nobody can see any gunfire coming from 32-135? And then we start to hear from eyewitnesses. And the eyewitnesses start to talk about what they saw at the venue. Let me share this with you. This is an eyewitness named Clarissa. And this is what Clarissa had to say. And watch what we see as she's sharing this. The footage was taken from an eyewitness video. And this is her testimony.
I was so unbelievably certain that it was coming from the helicopter because it was so close. And I remember thinking, why is it that close? Oh my God, I think the shooting is coming from the helicopter. Just in that moment was so certain, just not a doubt in my mind that there was shooting coming from the helicopter. But I do remember seeing they have those openings on the side. And I could see a shadow, not facing, facing out towards us. So not sitting back how you would in a helicopter strapped in. He was they were looking down at us. And it was I could see their heads, then underneath I could see a big blob. And I'm I couldn't tell what that was. And so I think that's another reason why I was really sure about it, because they were looking down on us. And I really wish I could remember every single detail with that night, but for some reason, I just knew it was coming out of that helicopter.
I have multiple eyewitnesses that say that the shooters were airborne. It appears that this was an assassination attempt on the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, who was staying at the Four Seasons. The Four Seasons is in the same building. It's just 3 floors up. And all of his uncles felt that it was inappropriate for him to be crown prince at 31 years old. They were in their 70s. They're like, we're the direct descendants of Ibn Saud. And you're going to run the country? No. And since it's not a democracy over there, you don't really get a vote. That's not how they do it. So it appears that the Las Vegas shooting was actually an assassination attempt planned by senior leaders within the Saudi royal family to kill MBS at the Four Seasons so that another member of the Saudi royal family could take over and become the next king of Saudi Arabia. That's what happened in that's what it appears happened in Las Vegas. And so, what I wanted to ask Dale is what goes into planning an operation like this, where, in other words, this is as high a level a hit as what we saw in Butler. I mean, these are the two, you kill Trump, Putin, or MBS. I mean, these are the three biggest names in the world right now. An assassination attempt planned in Butler is what we first started talking about, but this appears to be an assassination attempt on MBS on U.S. soil, planned by senior members of Saudi royalty that also head up the Saudi GIP. The General Intelligence Presidency is their CIA. And I don't know if you've ever had a chance to work with any of these guys. These are pretty hardcore guys, man. The Saudi GIP and the guys who guard MBS, these are hardcore dudes, man. These are pretty serious. And it appears that there is Wahhabi fundamental loyalty within the Saudi family that feels that MBS is out of his mind, giving women the right to drive. There's a lot of us that feel that way. Giving women the right to drive. It's like, what are you doing? Are you going to let him go to the movies? And he's doing concerts in the desert? He did this thing called Middle Beast. It was like Coachella in Saudi Arabia. And the hardcore Wahhabis are losing their minds over this stuff. They're like, they got women walking around in bippy tops and their bellies are showing. And the Wahhabis are like, this is sacrilege. They're ruining Saudi Arabia. We're the guardians of Mecca. We're the keepers of the... And so it's like, I understand. It's like, I get it. I understand this.
He's their JFK. It's all the World War II guys like Dulles and Angleton looking at JFK, who's young, he's fucking whores, and he's
ruining everything.
And they're like, what is this bag doing?
Right. He's going to ruin the whole fucking thing.
We got a good thing going.
Right. We spent 20, 30 years setting this thing up, and this guy and his brother are going to ruin it. Yeah. Same kind of thing. And so it turns out October 1st, 2017 is a big Muslim holiday. It's Ashura. And Ashura is like Passover. In other words, they tell the same story. So a lot of Americans don't realize that Muslims also celebrate and study the Old Testament. And so they have this in common with Jews. So Jews don't celebrate and study anything but the Old Testament, right? Anything after Jesus, they're not interested, right? But Muslims embrace the whole thing. They embrace the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran. So they're on board for everything. The Muslims are on board with Jesus. They're on board with Moses. They're down with everything. So celebrating Ashura is telling the kids the story of Moses. It's Exodus, right? It's Moses and Egypt and the river and the baby in the basket and the pyramids and the Sphinx, and it's all Egypt, Egypt, Egypt. What better place to tell your kids the story of Exodus than at the Four Seasons with a pyramid out the window? We got the Luxor right out the window. And a Sphinx. We got a Sphinx, we got the pyramid, and we don't have a Four Seasons on the Giza Plaza. We don't have a hotel right next to the real one that you can look out. We don't have one of those. So the next best thing is, and you keep in mind, Al-Walid bin Talal is the big Saudi guy that we see on CNN all the time, big investor in Citibank, big investor in Apple, big investor in Twitter, at the time was 45% owner of the Four Seasons. So Ali bin Talal, richest guy in Saudi Arabia, says to MBS, I allege, so I allege this is how they set it up, says to MBS, you know what? Ashura is coming up. I want you to bring the kids, take them to the Four Seasons. I'm going to give you my presidential suite, 2-story suite. It's fantastic. Bring the wife, bring the kids, bring the whole entourage. And this way you tell the kids the story of Ashura with a pyramid out the window, with a sphinx out the window. It doesn't get any better than that. My gift. It's my treat. I'm not taking no for an answer. I insist as your uncle. I'm your older uncle. You don't get to say no. It's a gift. So now they place MBS and his family at the Four Seasons, 3 floors up from Stephen Paddock's room. Stephen Paddock's on 32-135. 35th floor, 3 floors up, becomes the Four Seasons. MBS is 30 feet away, 3 floors up from Stephen Paddock's room. It's 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday. And it's a holiday. It's a holy holiday. It's like Passover dinner for Muslims. Telling the kids the story of Exodus, telling the kids the story of Moses, Ramses, let my people go, part the Red Sea, see reeds, whatever the hell the story is. They're telling the kids a story. And they got the pyramid out the window. It's perfect. Nobody knows October 1st was Ashura. Next thing you know, all hell breaks loose outside. Shooting, sirens, gunfire, pop, 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 pop. And the security detail says to MBS, sir, we need to go now. All right, its exfiltration protocol has tripped. Something tripped the exfiltration protocol. There's always a time where the security team is going to tap the asset and say, sir, it is time to go now, sir. And that's what happened. In the video that we just played, the first moment you see an SUV, that SUV is being shot at. That SUV is taking fire. And it takes fire on the far side. All right. The far side of the SUV gets hit, meaning the side away from Mandalay Bay is hit by gunfire. I mean, it can't come from Mandalay Bay. It has to come from a helicopter or somewhere else. We've got eyewitnesses saying the shooters are in a helicopter. There's no gunfire coming from room 32-135. And then when they breach the room, we find out that the window in 32-135 isn't even broken. The window's not even broken. It's like, what? What do you mean the window's not broken? We see the photos. We see the photos the next day. The photos we see of Mandalay Bay were taken the next morning. You don't see the broken window the night of. You see it the next morning. Turns out these guys are pretty good illusionists. I'm starting to wonder if they've got Penn Jillette on the payroll over there, because they're pretty good at this magic shit. Wait till you see this. This is footage that very few people have ever seen, Dale. This is body cam footage from the team that breached Stephen Paddock's room. Only one guy's got the body cam on. We're about to see it. Actually, another guy does. We just got that released a couple months ago. But watch this footage and listen carefully to what is said.
Catch right here. We are facing north. We are facing north. Just confirming that is you guys. That's in the broken window that faces the Luxor. We are facing the Luxor. We do not have a broken window. Okay, copy. It looks like you might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the Luxor off that north end. There's a little bit of movement unknown if it's going to be the curtains or not. I'm going to be working to get a better eye on it. Catch right here. We are facing north. We are facing north. Just confirming that is you guys. that's in the broken window that faces the left floor? We are facing the left floor. We do not have a broken window. Okay, copy. It looks like you might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the left floor off that north end. There's a little bit of movement unknown if it's going to be the curtains or not. I'm going to be working to get a better eye on it. Okay, stand by. We've got curtains open on a window that's not broken. We're looking for broken. Okay, it is us. We have the broken window. That's us, Jared. Stand by. We've got curtains open on a window that's not broken. We're looking for broken.
So that's the window that supposedly is broken that we see in the photos the next day. This is Brett Brosnahan. Brett Brosnahan goes to the window, pulls the curtain back, and goes, no, it's not broken. And the guy outside says, well, it looks like you got another room with a broken window. Is that you guys we see moving around in there? He says, well, the curtain's closed. If the curtain's closed, how would you see anybody moving around in there? He says, no, I think you got another room with a broken window, bro.
We are facing the left floor. We do not have a broken window. Okay, copy. It looks like you might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the left floor.
What? What? There's another room with a broken window? Facing the Luxor? The hell? What? And this window's not broken? So the 1,057 rounds didn't actually come from here? Now, the guy who walks to the window to check, if the window is broken and there's glass all over the floor, why is this a big mystery? Why are these guys trying to figure out which window's broken? Wouldn't it be like, hey, Dale, I think it's this one where all the glass is on the floor and there's 1,057 cases of brass in a pile. I imagine it's this one, Dale. What do you think? And you'd be like, yeah, bro, I think you might be onto something. Did you go to detective school? There's a pile of broken glass on the floor, right, guys? Why is this such a mystery? Let's review one more time. They're struggling to find the broken window, which right now is supposedly right here. If there's a pile of broken glass on the floor and 1,057 brass shell casings here, why is this a mystery? Why are you guys struggling to find the broken window? One more time.
Get right here. We are facing north. We are facing north. Just confirming that is you guys that's in the broken window that faces the left floor. We are facing the left floor. We do not have a broken window. Okay, copy. It looks like you might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the left floor off that north end. There's a little bit of movement unknown if it's going to be the curtains or not. I'm going to be working to get a better eye on it. Get right here. We are facing north. We are facing north. Just confirming that is you guys that's in the broken window that faces the left floor. We are facing the left floor. We do not have a broken window. Okay, copy. It looks like you might have another room that has a broken window that also faces the left floor off that north end. There's a little bit of movement unknown if it's going to be the curtains or not.
All right, so he says there's a little bit of movement. And these guys are in a broken window. And these guys say, we don't have a broken window here. Broken windows in 32-134, the little room next door. Says, we're facing the Luxor, there's no broken window here. He goes, is that you guys we see moving around? Nah. Well, that means there's another room with a broken window and there's movement. There's people still in the suite. And the curtains are open on a broken window. And there's still people up there. Keep in mind, this is an hour after the shooting has ended. They don't breach the room for an hour. And there's still people up there. That's pretty wild.
I'm going to be working to get a better eye on it.
Now watch.
Okay, stand by. We've got curtains open on a window that's not broken. We're looking for broken. Okay.
Now, why doesn't Brett Brosnahan say, hey, boss, there's a pile of broken glass over here and about 1,000 brass casings. I'm walking on them now as I go to the window. I'm stepping on broken glass and I'm stepping on brass shell casings in order to check the window that's not broken, apparently. There's no broken glass on the floor. There are not 1,000 spent brass shell casings on the floor. That's what is called forged evidence. And that's what they do when they add stuff to a crime scene after the fact. Like in the movies, they drop the little 38 caliber handgun and they sprinkle a little crack on the body, right? That's what Dave Chappelle says, right? Just sprinkle a little crack on the guy, right? Put a little crack there. There's not 1,000 spent brass casings next to that window, and there's not a whole bunch of broken glass. Yet, the LVMPD shows us photographs of that. That's how we know the evidence is forged. Okay, so when the LVMPD shows you this photograph as evidence, here, let me show you this. Hang on, I gotta hit my little share button here. So this is the official photograph. Well, if that's the case, why was this such a mystery to find the broken window? You're walking all over the place looking for the broken window. I say, hey, Dale, we got a pile of broken glass and a bunch of spent brass casings over here and a hammer. I imagine this might be where the broken window is in the vicinity of. But when Brett Brosnahan goes to the window to check, he says, no, it's not. Doesn't appear that he kicked a hammer. Is he walking on the evidence? You're stepping on the brass shell casings? Why would you do that? That seems like you probably shouldn't step on the brass shell casings when you go to the window. Right? That would be a dumb thing. Like, how dumb a cop do you have to be to walk on all the evidence? That's kind of stupid.
We have the broken window. That's us, Carrier.
That's added, by the way. That audio is added.
God. Go ahead, Todd. If you can raise a CT, ask them to contact the hotel if they can turn on one of these elevators and get there quicker. Yeah.
So you got a dead guy lying on the floor. You got a bunch of guns. You got a bunch of ammo. But the window's not broken. And these guys are realizing in this moment, right here, right now, that they've been punked.
You can turn on one of these elevators and get there quicker. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Sure, Mueller, Kevin.
They have security down at the
Go
elevator
ahead.
base as well.
I'm just waiting for you on the 14th.
So we got another room. Looks like you have another room with a broken window facing the Luxor. Now, is there any evidence of that other room having its window broken? And the answer to that is yes. Somebody captured it on video. We've got something happening at 9:47 p.m. that night. So before the shooting that most people don't know about. Right? So it's like, if you haven't seen all the evidence and you form an opinion about the event, and then you're like, well, I didn't see that. I didn't see helicopters flying in between. I didn't see muzzle flying. It's like you're introducing a whole bunch of new stuff. And all the new stuff kind of changes the story to a pretty significant degree. Another room with a broken window, right? Well, this happens at 9:47 p.m. The gunfire begins for the most part at 10:05. So this is 9:47, about 20 minutes earlier. Okay? Well, watch this. This is a pretty big deal. That's Maverick. That's a Maverick helicopter that just came flying in. So did you guys see it? Do you see the, it looks like a flash or something up there? That's Maverick helicopter. And so the way I was able to determine that this is 9:47 p.m., Dale, is I went to flight radar, and on flight radar, I see that Maverick helicopter coming in at 9:47 p.m. All right, so I see the helicopter we just saw flying southbound. He's flying the correct way. And the flashing you see, that's his anti-collision strobe. Same pattern. Bop, 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 bop. Same pattern. Anti-collision strobe. That's Maverick. I go to flight radar, and I'm like, oh, well, 9:47. There he is, right there. So 9:47 p.m., that Maverick helicopter flies by Mandalay Bay. That's when that event took place, this incendiary event. Okay, that's how I know it's 9:47. So when I realized this, I got goosebumps. I mean, I'm modeling this thing, and I realize that where we see this incendiary event is up at the Four Seasons. We have another room with a broken window on that north end facing the Luxor. Right? We've got another room with a broken window on that north end facing the Luxor. That's this. This is the north end facing the Luxor. And so if this incendiary event takes place at 9:47, and that's the 38th floor at the Four Seasons, is that somebody shooting a shotgun? Is that a shotgun blast blowing out the window? Is that tannerite? I mean, what the hell is going on? I mean, it looks like an incendiary event, for sure. Of what type? But the fact that we've got the other guys, who are SWAT guys, saying, hey, Lieutenant, it looks like we got another room with a broken window off the north end facing the Luxor. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of game-changing stuff, Dale.
Yeah, I got a bunch of questions, man.
Fire away, bro. Do it.
So,
Hit me.
man,
Hit me.
I've been writing all these notes down. So
Do it. Do it. Hit me. Hit me. Hit me.
So
Forgive me, though, if I answer with evidence. So what I like to do is I don't want to give you my opinion about shit. When you ask me a question, I'm going to show you the evidence. All right? So bear with me, because that's how I operate.
Yeah. So my first question is, do we actually have evidence of the weapon types used? Like, for example, I thought I saw in one of the videos what looked like an AK-47 with an extended magazine. Was that there?
It's interesting that you say that. So it's interesting that you bring this up because in the LVMPD police report, there's no mention of AK-47s at all. None.
But I saw one laying. I'm pretty sure I saw one laying. There was three of them, I think, three weapons laying on a like on a couch or sofa, and it looked like an AK-47 with about a 40-round extended magazine for it.
Okay. You've got such a great eye. It's amazing. One of the reasons we love you. So here's the story. The LVMPD police report inventories all the firearms in the room. All right, there's a 38 caliber revolver he blows his head off with, supposedly. Whole bunch of AR-15s, many of which have bump stocks. A whole bunch of Surefire 100-round magazines.
Those are awesome.
Which I don't have any of. They're expensive.
I've tried to find them on eBay. You can't.
Yeah, I don't have any of those. So they're kind of rare. It's like when I go to the range, I never see anybody with those. Like it's not like something that everybody goes at the range and everybody's got Surefire 100-round mags. Nobody, I never see them. Never see them. But something happens in there. So in other words, Dale, you picked up on something quickly. You said, I think I saw an AK-47 line there, but it's not in the police report. Gets worse. Gets way worse. Okay, well, let's watch this together, and you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh your ass off, Dale, because it's amazing how you pick up on this shit so fast. Watch this.
There's a whole suitcase full of loaded AK mags.
What? There's a whole suitcase full of loaded AK mags.
There's a whole suitcase full of loaded AK mags.
What? So, first question. Why would you have a whole suitcase full of loaded AK mags if you don't have any AK-47s with you?
There was one laying on that chair. I know I saw
the LVMPD says there's not, right? So are you accusing them of getting something wrong, Dale? That would sound like a conspiracy theory.
Just for clarity, I'm a light and weapons expert in Special Forces Green Berets, so I know my guns.
Well, one of the cops in the room on body cam is, dude, there's a whole suitcase of AK-47 magazines. All right, couple things. All right, so I've got a couple different weapons. I got a couple AR-15s. I got an MP5, right? Couple different things. I don't have 50 magazines for any of my shit. All right. I've got 15 magazines for my MP5, which is too many. Like I ordered 4 too many. Like I don't need 15 magazines.
4 too many.
Right. It's like, what the hell do I need 15 magazines for an MP5? Right. Where am I going? But this guy's got a suitcase full. A suitcase full of AK-47 magazines loaded. So let's first of all talk about what does that weigh? A loaded suitcase full of AK-47 magazines weighs at least 50, 60, 75 pounds. Right? I mean, you're talking about a rollerboard suitcase filled with loaded magazines? That's at least 50 pounds, okay? Maybe 75 pounds. Why are you running around with a suitcase full of AK-47 magazines if you don't have any AK-47s with you? When I go to the range, Tommy, how many MP5 magazines loaded do you think I bring with me if I don't bring the MP5? None. What the hell am I bringing loaded MP5 magazines if I'm going to shoot the AR? All right, and if I'm going to shoot the AR in 300 Blackout, how many loaded 223 magazines do you think I bring with me? None. What the hell do I need a whole bunch of loaded 223 magazines if I'm going to the range to shoot 300 Blackout?
I mean, if by any chance you have an interest in, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, that might change.
All right, so hang on.
By happenstance.
So what this suggests is, so first of all, Dale says, I see an AK-47. I don't give a shit what the report says. There's one sitting there. I see it. The cops on body cam corroborated what Dale saw, and Dale didn't know this was on body cam. That's what makes this kind of goosebumpy type shit. You love when what you've seen has been corroborated and you didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
Right? It's like when you and I did the show with Clay Martin, we're talking about silenced gunfire.
Yeah.
And then weeks later, these guys testified they're getting shot at by suppressed gunfire. And I'm like, yeah.
There you go.
Right? So it's that same sort of thing. So Dale, yes, not just what you saw lying on the couch that they didn't document. It's not in the police report. There's a whole suitcase full of magazines. For the audience that's not familiar with the difference, the AK-47 magazine has a much more significant curve to it than an AR-15, which is it's much more vertical. It has a little curve to it, but not like an AK-47. AK-47s are more sickle-shaped, and the round is significantly bigger. These are 7.62 rounds. It's a significantly bigger round. It's a heavier magazine, right? Heavier magazine, more curve to it, and the cops are all carrying AR-15s. So there's no, or M4s, there's no doubt to them, they're not going to mistake a suitcase of AR-15 magazines for AK-47 magazines. They're not going to be looking at a suitcase full of AR magazines and go, oh, there's a suitcase of Barrett magazines for an M50. No, they're not going to make that mistake. They know what they're carrying and they know what they're looking at. So the fact, Dale, that there's not just what you witnessed sitting there on the couch, there's a whole suitcase full. Well, what does that tell us? That tells us, well, maybe there's more than one AK-47 in this vicinity. Where did they go? Where did the AK-47s go? Upstairs to the Four Seasons with the real bad guys? Let me walk you through a scenario. There's 3 women checked into the room with Stephen Paddock. You know that? You know that part? All right, so Stephen Paddock's honeypotted, right? If you want to make something happen, women are usually the key, right? I mean, it's the age-old story. Stephen Paddock has 3 women checked in with him at that suite, meaning they're registered to the room. They showed ID at the front desk. Their names are Joanne, Katie, and Laura. And let's see, women, body cam. All right, so this is what I mean, Dale. I don't like to just talk. I like to share with you the actual stuff so you don't think I'm bullshitting you. So.
All right. Okay, so room 135 on the 32nd floor. Registered guest, his last name is Paddock.
There's also 3 females that are registered to that room. First name is Joanne, Joanne. Last name. Second subject, Laura. Last name. Third subject, Katie. Last name. They checked in on 25 September. Scheduled to check out on October 2nd.
Damn.
All right. So he's got 3 women in there with him. So I suggest this guy got honeypotted. The GIP is the Saudi intelligence agency is really good. Like a lot of, everybody talks about the Mossad. The difference between the Mossad and the Saudis have oil money. All right. Whereas the Mossad is, looking to save a shekel or 2 here and there. They're trying to be realistic about the way they spend money. No, not in Saudi Arabia. If it works, they buy it.
Yeah, throw it all.
If it works, they buy it. Okay? If I can listen to your phone call, we'll buy it. Can I monitor? I'll buy it. We're going to buy that too. There's nothing they don't have. Nothing. It's like a dream come true getting to work over there. If you need it, they'll buy it. So the women that work for the GIP are spectacular. And they'll stick a double-edged blade in your eye so fucking fast you won't even know it hit you. Straight into the frontal cortex. These are killers. And like you, they're brilliant. They're good looking. They're sexy. And they know how to work it. And at 42 years old, they retire. Now what? Now they go to work for companies like the Umbrella Corp. They go to work for companies as security professionals, and there are companies headquartered in Riyadh. So if you're looking to pull off an operation, there's companies that you can hire that have former Saudi GIP operatives in their 40s prepared to do what needs to be done. You get 3 of them. Now keep in mind, these women are beautiful. They are gorgeous. 40-something years old, 43, 45, 46 years old. Knockouts. And they shoot like, whoa. And that's how you meet Stephen Paddock, is at the range. We're going to need a shooter. And the setup is, one of them, all of a sudden Stephen Paddock thinks he's got a new girlfriend. He sends Mary Lou Danley off to the Philippines with $100,000. Stephen thinks he's got a new girlfriend, and she's hot. And she's bringing her girlfriends, and they've got some friends that are kind of high rollers. Lamborghinis, Maseratis, Ferraris. One of the guys has got the big SUV Lamborghini. And they want to go out to the desert shooting. Stephen, do you know anybody that's got a minivan that can take a bunch of high rollers out to the desert shooting for the day for $50,000? I got 4 buddies. They've all got these big Lamborghini SUVs. They want to go out to the desert. They want to shoot, watermelons and Mountain Dew and Fanta bottles and blow shit up. Can you pick up any of that Tannerite at Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops, and can we blow up some watermelons? The guy's got 100 pounds of Tannerite. He's got 24 weapons, plus the AK-47s we can't seem to find. He thinks he's taking 3 chicks and 4 dudes out to the desert shooting the next day. That's why he has a minivan. What guy our age has a minivan? No, I don't have a minivan. You have a minivan? You don't have a minivan. I don't have a minivan. Who the hell needs a minivan at our age? Nobody I know. But if you're taking guys out to the desert shooting pretty much every weekend, you might have a minivan. Because you do these $10,000 out in the desert, let's go shoot shit and blow shit up. And at the end of the day shooting, if you want to offer me a couple grand for my Noveski, I'll consider it. Right? I've got I got a Colt M4 monoblock upper with an LMT lower, and with an EOTech, and you shoot this thing and you're like, damn, this thing is butter. This thing is butter, and you offer me $4,000 for it, and I've had it for 2 years already. I didn't buy it with the intent of selling it, but you offer me $4,000, and you got $4,000 in your pocket. Dude, I'll give you $4,000 for this right now. I've never shot anything like this. This is butter. We can do that transaction in Nevada. That's a private sale of a firearm. As long as you're not a felon, we're allowed to do that. And as long as I didn't buy it with the intent of selling it, and you're not a felon, we're allowed to do that transaction right there. It's that simple. Stephen Paddock thinks he's taking high rollers to the desert shooting. He's got a whole bunch of guns, and he's got 3 chicks with him in a minivan and 2 vehicles. He's got a Hyundai Tucson and the Chrysler Pacific or whatever the hell the minivan was. He's got 2 cars, 3 chicks. Looks to me like he thinks he's going to the desert the next day shooting on Monday with the Tannerite. Not going to leave all the guns in the car. You're going to leave $100,000 worth of guns in the car. That's it, you don't do that. You bring them into the hotel room. Everybody gets worked up about bringing guns into the hotel room. When I travel with my shit, what do you think? I leave it in the car? Hell no. You bring it in the hotel room. It goes on the luggage cart. What do you think? Anybody says, what is that, an AR-15 in that bag? Nobody gives a shit. Nobody's asking questions. Just don't shoot anybody. I tend not to leave the shit out on the coffee table when the maid's coming to, put the new towels in. I don't want to freak out the housekeeping. You don't leave the shit out all over the room, but you do bring your guns into the hotel room. I did this with Jason. We went to Vegas together. I brought a whole bunch of guns. You don't leave this shit in a car. So you are so right. There's AK-47 magazines in the room, yet LVMPD doesn't say a word about the one you or more that you saw, one or more. And the fact that there's a whole suitcase full of AK-47 magazines doesn't make the inventory list either. That's completely ignored.
Yeah.
So this is part of the cover-up, right? Why would you ignore that? Because the weapons are missing. There's one AK-47 in the room and a suitcase full of magazines? Why would you have 60 magazines and one rifle? Oh, there's 3 AK-47s missing. Ah. Well, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. Why did they take the AK? Oh, because they're Saudi commandos and they're much more familiar with the AK-47 than the AR-15. So given a choice, they're going to grab the AKs. Makes sense to me. Head spinning shit, Dale. I apologize.
Yeah. No, I got quite a bit more here real quick.
Keep going.
We don't have to answer every one of them. Just some of them, just
We,
kind of.
we can keep going. By the way, I
No,
can
keep
no,
going.
the call I have after. I can push that back. We can keep going.
All right.
All right. Let's see. Well, one you said so. It sounds like maybe he fell victim to some honeypots. Okay, that's very plausible, right? So I mean, everything you just said makes sense. The question is, how much time would they have? So they spotted him, they assessed him, and how long did it take them to develop this guy in order to make it reliable, right? And then with that said, because obviously this was all planned around this concert, because you're going to have, a mass grouping of people on that particular night. That means somebody had to plan ahead, go, okay, on this night, this guy's going to be in this hotel. We need to have our guys in this hotel. And so now if you do your backwards planning, how much time did they have? Because I don't know how far out they scheduled this whole thing. How far out did they know the Prince or King, whatever is going to be in the hotel? How do we know when this hotel concert was going to happen? So there's a window they had to operate in, right? So that makes it challenging. What did they do to develop this guy? I mean, I would think that maybe they if you don't have enough time, maybe another way to do it is blackmail the guy and or threaten his family. So if you don't do this, you don't check in his hotel, we're gonna kill you. Or maybe they did lure him up to go, hey, look, you got 3 hotties who come up here with our guns and you get to shoot your jelly gun and we'll have fun, right? So who knows, right? How that all played out. So that's the question, is how long did they have to develop this?
That's why I want to have this discussion, is because that's what I believe we're looking at here, is an operation of this sophistication. We have an article. This is an article in The Guardian from 2015, 2 years before the Vegas shooting, where the Saudi royal family are expressing concern about MBS being named Crown Prince. So 2 years prior. All right, so 2 years prior, we've got documentation. It's in The Guardian, big story, big article. I'll send it to you in email. And as you read it, it's almost like your takeaway is, are you guys planning a coup d'etat? Because it kind of reads that way. Sounds like you're pretty upset. Sounds like a lot of you guys are pretty upset as I'm reading this thing like, are you planning something naughty here? Because it sounds like you guys are a little off the reservation. 2 years later, so that seems like that was the master window, was from the time they really started getting their thoughts together and they kind of published this thing and they went public with their consternation about the selection of MBS's Crown Prince, to the event was a total time period of 2 years. But that's too long. In other words, you can't then the next week say, hey, MBS, let's do a Shura 2 years from now. That's too far out. So this is where the conversation, this is exactly the discussion I wanted to have, is you formulate an idea 2 years away and you're like, all right, we got to get rid of this guy. the sophistication involved in an operation like this. So, and again, there's some more coloring into the numbers I need to provide for you so that you know what you're working with here. The question when I started to see these helicopters, I said, how the hell are there shooters in helicopters? And there was chit chat on the internet at the time that it was our guys, FBI, CIA, whatever. And I'm like, I find it very hard to accept that somebody who took an oath, who went through everything at Quantico, got in a helicopter one day to shoot 20-year-old girls in the face. I'm having a real hard time with that. And if that's the last option possible, I'll explore it. But that can't be my going in hypothesis, is that a bunch of our guys who took an oath got in a helicopter one night and shot girls in the head. I'm not buying that. That's my last option. All right. So I said, all right, so who are the usual suspects? Who the hell is going to do something? Who's this ruthless? North Korea? But how the hell is North Korea going to get helicopters into Vegas? That's not realistic. Venezuela? They really that angry at us? El Chapo? What, did his daughter sleep with the CEO of MGM or something? And this was a personal vendetta against the MGM? Who else has got helicopters in the vicinity? And that's when I discovered, again, sort of one of the other kind of smoking guns, is we have these Apache and AH-6Is that are being prepared for Saudi Arabia. And they're sitting on the tarmac in Mesa, Arizona. And we're training Saudi pilots in Mesa, Arizona on how to fly these things like badasses. So basically, our guys teach the Saudi pilots how to fly the AH-6I, right, the little bird, the old MD-500, right? So this is Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas helicopter. So the old MD-500 is now the AH-6I, the little bird. They're training Saudi commandos, Saudi pilots in these things in Mesa, Arizona at the Boeing factory. And there's a bunch of these things sitting on the tarmac. 24 of them. 7 of the 24 cycling through assembly. So they're sitting there in Mesa, Arizona. Well, how far is Mesa, Arizona from Las Vegas, Nevada? Like 270 miles, 265 miles, something like that. Well, that's about the range of one of these things. So that means you're going to need to refuel. You draw a line in Google Earth and you say, oh, well, you go right past Kingman. Kingman's got a nice little airport there. Kingman, Arizona, you got refueling capabilities there for sure. And when you realize the guys who are behind the Saudi GIP is Bandar, Prince Bandar. Prince Bandar is the guy who owns the largest house in Colorado. You ever watch these YouTube videos? It's like, what's the largest house in every state? The biggest house in Colorado is Prince Bandar bin Sultan of Saudi Arabia. He was the head of the Saudi GIP. So the head of the Saudi intelligence has got the biggest house in Colorado. These are billionaires. They're buying helicopters from us left and right. They're buying Apaches, Blackhawks, and Little Birds. And we're training their guys in Mesa, Arizona. All right, so I'm looking around for who's got the means, who's got the motive, who's got the opportunity. Well, who's got helicopters within 250 miles of Las Vegas? It's ruthless enough to go shoot girls in cowboy boots and hot pants in the face? Wouldn't that kind of have to be Wahhabis?
Let me ask you something while we're on that topic of the helicopters. All right, so I got a couple of notes here on that already. So one, okay, the helicopter's flying in the wrong direction. So is it possible a medevac helicopter just happened to be flying something like that. I don't think they have to adhere to certain flight restrictions in an emergency. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. So maybe that was it. Maybe it's not. The other question I have on the helicopter is, okay, if it was a shooter in a helicopter, he's laying out a lot of brass. I guarantee you that shit's sprinkling on the ground, on the street. Did they find brass somewhere else away
Yes.
from that?
Yes.
They did.
Yes.
Like a couple blocks away.
At Tropicana.
They
Tropicana
did?
parking lot. Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How much did they find? Like, and what was the caliber?
Well, the people who saw it were running for their lives, right? And I've got that on film too. So they don't really know the caliber, but they said there's brass shell casings in the parking lot of the Tropicana. Why are there brass shell casings in the parking lot of the Tropicana if the shooter's supposedly up in Mandalay Bay? So, and you see cops crawling around picking up evidence. There's magazines in the street.
Okay, that would
in the street. All right.
So that's what I would expect to see that quite a bit of brass sprinkled everywhere, at least on the flight, the track of the flight. Magazines. Now it depends on what kind of weapon they were shooting from the helicopter.
Right.
The other question, well, I guess the other statement I'll make is, it's possible you did not see flashes from the helicopter or from the hotel because he was using a flash suppressors, right? Because most of those weapons have flash suppressors. They are 15s. The AK, I thought, again, when I saw that AK-47, I'm pretty sure I saw a muzzle flash suppressor on that. So that would be a reason you don't see flashes.
But the window's not broken.
Oh yeah, you're right. So, but you said the other window was broken next door, right?
Yes, but there's only 8 shots, and they document that. And
Yeah,
we see those. We see them, we hear them, and they document it. They say there's 8 shots taken from this room, and they find 8 shell casings in that room that are 308.
Okay, so the pile of brass and glass that you showed, where was that located?
At the window where Brosnahan goes, pulls the curtain back, and goes, "No, it's not broken."
Okay, so
The window.
okay.
That's the window that they're trying to sell everybody. That was where the shooting took place. That's where the window was broken.
Yeah, I noticed something about that, so I'm glad you said that. Because I don't want to sit there and pretend like I know what's going on. Because looking at it from like really my first view, it seemed to me like that glass. So this is tempered glass. You'd have to hit it pretty hard with a hammer to shatter it. And
Yes.
it's gonna and it looked like it was in a nice little neat pile. That was what was interesting because it did not. I don't think you're just gonna knock out a hole when you hit that glass. The whole thing's gonna come down, right? And you're gonna have
so good at this shit, bro. You're so good at this. Again, you keep picking up on things that I've got the evidence to support that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
So I want to give you something to. All right. So yes, the cops realize if this window isn't broken, this can't be the shooter. Right? If the window's not broken, I got a dead guy, a lot of ammo, a lot of guns, but this guy could not have shot 1,000 if the windows don't open at all in Vegas. You can't even crack it. No.
Yeah.
So to your point, there's a 3-pound sledgehammer on the floor. I use that to drive the tent stakes in on my tent when I go camping. A 3-pound sledgehammer isn't breaking tempered glass. I mean, I don't know if it's even going to crack it. It might crack it. But to your point, how did they break the window?
I would also add to that window theory. Now, this is me just kind of reaching a little bit, but I would assume that if you can have glass in a hotel like that, what would be the most dangerous thing you can think of in a hotel classroom? I mean, you don't want glass to shatter and fall out and land on somebody else, right? So it's got to be secure too. I would imagine the glass is probably not only tempered, but maybe you have some type of polycarbonate laminate on it, right?
Oh yeah.
So
like
would it really
safety glass?
Yeah, would it she, or maybe it would just come in little parts, but it would stay together, right?
And so you kind of nailed it. You're incredibly observant. What I'm going to share with you is that we have on film, and I'm going to show it to you in a second, what appears to be the LVMPD blowing out the window at 12:23 a.m. And it looks almost exactly like what we saw happen at 9:47. So the 9:47 thing that we saw happen upstairs, it looked like it was 38th floor, and we're like, what the hell is that? It looks like somebody just fired a shotgun out the window. We see something looks almost exactly like that at 12:23 a.m. And what I think they realized was, guys, we got to blow this window out, dump a box of brass, or this can't be the shooter. We're going to have to go on television and tell everybody we thought we had the guy. We rushed the room, but this is not the guy. We're going to go on television and tell everybody, yeah, we don't know who did this. We got a dead guy here and a bunch of guns, but he didn't do it. Don't know who did it. Best of luck, everybody. Roll those dice, get out there, play those slots, pull the handle, play some cards. Welcome to Vegas. We don't know who did it, but we're on the lookout. If anybody saw anything, give us a phone call. That's what they're facing. So they come up with a plan. This is our shooter. Blow out the window. Somebody get up to the range and get me a box of brass. We need a box of spent brass casings. The mistake they made was they only dropped 1,057 rounds. Now, your point is valid. You're firing into a fishbowl. Firing into a fishbowl, you might, in fact, with frangible stuff and hitting and the bullets, one bullet could hit 6 people if it franges before it hits. So you're right. I mean, it is also a scenario we've never seen. We've never seen a shooter shoot into a fishbowl like that. This is like movie stuff. It's like shooting into a football stadium. So, but if the window's not broken, this guy can't be the shooter. I think they take a shotgun and they blow that window out at 12:23, and we have it on video. And I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you the video. The other thing is we've got so many eyewitnesses that say that the shooters were in helicopters, meaning it's not just one eyewitness. There's multiple eyewitnesses. This is a local woman, lives in Las Vegas. Her name is Rachel. And she came on the show and shared with us her observations. She was in the VIP suites. She had Gene Simmons tickets. Her daughter is Gene Simmons' hairdresser from Kiss.
Yeah.
All right. Gene Simmons gave his hairdresser his tickets to the concert and said, here you go. And the hairdresser took her mom. Her mom is Rachel. This is Rachel.
The Luxor. And in between those two hotels, relatively high, was a helicopter coming directly towards, like from Mandalay Bay, towards the venue where I was sitting.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And so I looked up, again, because Mandalay Bay is on that side of me when I'm in where I was standing. And when I looked up, there was no lights on this helicopter at all, not even one, which I found very weird. And the doors were open. There was probably at least 2 rows of people on each side, hanging out a little bit, and gunshots coming from there.
So I got a dozen of them that'll tell you the same thing. So the fact that the window's not broken, the fact that we got helicopters all flying the wrong way, no lights on, and to your point, could it be medevac? I check flight radar. Flight radar shows no air traffic, nothing. So it's like I'm looking at flight radar. I'm like, well, who are these guys? And there's nothing there. So they've got the transponders turned off, and it's right next to the airport. You're not allowed to fly in this airspace without your ADS-B transponder on. The only guys who would do that are military. By the way, the commander at Nellis Air Force Base, 12 miles north, was fired 2 weeks later. The commander at Nellis was fired 2 weeks later. All right. I got a dozen eyewitnesses saying they're in the helicopters. Shooters are in the helicopters. So it looks to me like the commandos that are training in Mesa, Arizona at Boeing are part of this op. And so this is the conversation that to you, which is if you're trying to plan something like this, if a senior member of the government comes to you with a hit of this magnitude, you're talking about, again, you're talking about top three, top four in the world. Kill Trump, kill Putin, kill MBS. I mean, these are the biggest names in the world right now. An operation of this magnitude being planned at the highest levels of Saudi royalty, and they come to you as the key guy. So you're a Saudi guy, right? You're bin Falal or something, right? You're bin Falafel. So you're some Saudi guy with your skill set, and they come to you and they say, all right, listen, we got a plan and we need somebody to lead this thing, to head this thing up. It looks to me like you've got 5 or 6 helicopters on site. It's 5 pilots. Each one of those birds has got at least 2 or 3 commandos in it. I mean, the level of this and the planning of this and the fact that we've got the documentation 2 years earlier, the fact that it's a holiday, they got to put MBS there. They got to get the women, the female assets. They got to get them engaged with the target 6 months, 9 months earlier. I mean, the planning that had to go into this is something that really, it's like you're one of the few guys on earth that can help us understand what goes into an operation of this magnitude on foreign soil. Holy shit, man. Absconding with helicopters from the Boeing factory with small arms, right? No rockets. They didn't have any grenades, or they would have fired that right? If they had rocket propelled grenades on the AH-6I, they would have fired that at the fuel tank, not a Barrett. Or why are they screwing around with a Barrett 50 cal if they had something serious on the hard points so there's nothing on the hard points on the helicopters. Everything is small arms fire. But we know what their standard issue shit is. We know Saudi Arabian National Guard standard issue, H&K G36, which has a very distinct sound. The G36 fires at 16 rounds per second. It's a very distinct sound. When you hear it, it's like, oh shit, that's a G36. It's very fast. Very quick compared to an AK. What are you thinking?
Yeah, a lot of things here. I'll answer your question in a second about the planning piece of it. But all right, so listening to the report from the weapons as they're being fired. Okay, didn't see any muzzle flash. Now, I don't know what the cyclic rate of say an AR-15 is with a bump stock on it. It sounded like the cyclic rate of a larger cal like an AK-47. His cyclic rate seemed to be a little bit slower, and I don't know if that's because of the bump stock or what was going on there, or was it a larger caliber weapon? So that's one of the questions that kind of makes me wonder. What weapon, for example, did we ever determine, or did they ever determine forensically, were they shot by 223 or 5.56, or was it something other calibers? Did they ever say, yeah, it was definitely AR-15?
No, that's a secret. That's a big secret. They don't want you to know that. Yeah.
There it is.
I have the autopsies. None of them identify the round. Yeah.
I'll be willing to bet money. It was 308-762. I'll be willing to bet money. I'll bet you money. And so, all right, let's just leave that hanging out there for a second. I'm just going down my list here. We've already talked about finding brass off site somewhere along the path, the flight path.
Right.
My other question is, so we have more broken glass above. You think a shotgun blast knocked a hole in that window? I'm going to tell you, why would you? Okay, so that room, they had to blown out the hole in the window. What did they find there? Whose room was that? And what was the concept? What was the reason for that? What do you think? Because I don't think you can do it with a shotgun. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not going to see a flash coming out the window from a shotgun.
No.
Now, what you might see is if they maybe slapped a small charge on there, to shatter the window, blow it, you might see a flash.
There you go.
Right?
Okay.
But it's not a big shotgun round.
Okay.
So
All right,
So
so that's good to
why
know.
did they blow, why did they blow that window? And what was in there?
All right, so there's 3 rooms potentially that have broken windows. Right? There's there's 32-134. Let me pull up a picture of it so everybody knows what we're talking about here. Hang on. Mandalay Bay. So there's the 2 windows that everybody sees in the pictures. You know, there's the standard photograph of let me just find one of them, of Mandalay Bay with the 2 windows broken. I'm just trying to find a standard picture of the thing. The issue is, all right, well, this is interesting. These are people repairing the window. All right, so the issue is we've got the 2 rooms that supposedly belong to Stephen Paddock. We've got the window supposedly upstairs at the Four Seasons that looks like something's happening, an incendiary event at 9:47. So that one's blown out. So if the LVMPD blow out the window in the suite at 12:23 a.m., which I think I've got on video, the question is, well, why are they doing that? Is that the question?
Well, yeah. What was in that room? Why was that significant? Why would they just knock out that window in another room on a different level? Well, who was there?
It could have been that they were shooting at MBS. So if that's the attack at MBS at 9:47, all right, they go up there, they start shooting at MBS. You're saying it doesn't appear to you to be a shotgun?
I don't think so.
All right, so then
let's just say it was a shotgun. What's it going to do? You're going to put a very small hole in the glass again.
It was accidental. I don't think the window getting blown out at the Four Seasons at 9:47 that we looked at before, I don't think that was intentional necessarily. Like, I don't think the bad guys intended to. Oh, wait a second though. Wait a second. Holy shit, bro. I got to play something for you. You're going to flip out. And you don't flip out, and you're going to flip out. Wait till you hear this. You guys you're not going to believe this shit. You're just not going to believe this. Here we go. Why did they knock out the window, Dale? Good question, bro. Good question.
Our chief national correspondent, Tom Yamas, is in Las Vegas with all the latest. Good morning, Tom.
George, good morning to you. So many major developments overnight. All of this as investigators now believe an escape plan could have been in the works. Pursuing new leads.
Stay down, run this way.
Including the possibility shooter Stephen Paddock may have been planning a getaway.
What do you see?
An armory. A lot of drills.
Yeah.
And a lot of drills and drill bits, all kinds of tools. A lot of drills.
Yeah.
And a lot of drills and drill bits, all kinds of tools.
This is 7 years ago.
Oh yeah, what is that?
09 Control. Control 224. 224. There are buses dropping off at Town Square that are not supposed to be. Can you call Cat and stop it up, please? That's the front desk. Shut down.
Damn.
Control.
Is that a zip line? Is that a zip line?
I'm watching Dale's face.
Is that a zip line? Is that a zip line?
I'm not seeing the zip line.
No, you're not going to see it in the footage, but
Is that a zip line?
you're counting on listen to her and the people she's going to talk to.
Gotcha.
All right. We're not going to see it. It's nighttime. A shitty camera. I know where she's standing, though. Okay, I know where she's standing. She just looked to the left, and I know where she is. So the question is, you're going to hear from a bunch of officers saying they think they're looking at a zip line. The hell do they need a zip line? So to your question, why would you guys blow out the window at the Four Seasons? You can't run a zip line if you don't blow out the window.
Okay, stop right there real quick. So
look at this. Looks like a person dangling. So now you got 2-3 cops talking about this. But go ahead. Yeah, fire away. Go ahead.
Okay, to do a zip line, you need a really good anchor point. One,
right.
How did you attach the other end? That's just my question. To create a zip line, so
vehicle bumper.
Well, you'd have to load the one end and then drive it off somewhere, attach it somewhere else, right? Or just park the vehicle.
Right. I'm across the street at the Luxor, and you're upstairs. You're upstairs at the Four Seasons. You blow out the window.
I think a more plausible thing to do, and probably easier, is to do a rappel. Just drop
straight out the window. Right. Right.
Outside. Right? That's what I would think. That would be more plausible than a zip line, but who knows, man, what they were thinking.
Well, let's go back to the video. Because again, let's listen to, these are eyewitness cops on tape talking about this thing. So let's listen to what they say. Whether or not it was a good idea or not, I agree with you. I would have just gone straight down the side of the building, right? And who the hell needs to zip to the Luxor? But whoever planned this might have said, we can be at the Luxor. So who knows? It just because it may not have been a great idea doesn't mean that's not what they did, right? Every aspect of their plan may not have been ideal. So let's listen to what these cops say. It's cops. 2 or 3 of them.
Is that a zip line?
And she's facing towards the Luxor.
Is that a zip line?
So is the zip line going across to the parking lot, across the street?
Is that a zip line?
Anchor to the bumper on a, Yukon XL, a Cadillac Escalator, something that weighs 7,000 pounds. Anchor it to the trailer hitch.
Okay, so one end had to still be anchored off inside the hotel room.
Right.
How they recovered that, or is it still there? Somebody else recovered it.
It might still be there up at the Four Seasons. We hear nothing about the Four Seasons. Right. Everything that happened at the Four Seasons is. All right. The other owner of the Four Seasons is Bill Gates, by the way. So Bill Gates, right?
There's no release way to recover that other end. Somebody would have to either stay behind and release it, or you have to leave it connected. And there's
right. I think they left it connected, but it kind of explains the drills. If you need to anchor a rappelling line or anchor a zip line, having drills to drill into the concrete columns so that you could set an anchor might explain the drills. What the hell they have all these drills for? What are they drilling for?
Well, and the next question is, who had access to their room? Did somebody reserve that room? Did they check? Who was able to get into that room? That somebody had to have been in it for a while to set that up.
The zip line. Good point. Again, I don't know. I'm just listening to police stuff, and I'm like, what? A zip line? What the? And it's not just one cop, right? So listen, because you're going to hear it corroborated now. So that means, she's not hallucinating. Listen further. Listen to this. So we know where she's standing. She's standing kind of right between. She's standing right between the the end of the building and the Luxor. And she's like, is that a zip line? Is that a zip line? And so she's talking to another cop. And the other cop is going to look and start making some other observations. So here we go. Now listen to what the other cop says.
It's a person, isn't it?
It kind of looks like a person dangling, but also a
It's a person, isn't it?
Now keep in mind, I don't see anything.
No idea.
Or it's like right next to the moon.
Why?
It looks like a person floating.
Yeah.
It looks like a person floating.
Yeah.
It looks like a person floating.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I can stop you there real quick.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your original question. What would it take to run an op like this? All right, look, I gotta be careful how I say this because I don't want people to misconstrue it. So no, I've run ops against guys that single guys, a single target, but he was very cagey, hard to keep up with, hard to track, never left in the same place twice, had a lot of training in counter surveillance, had security. So the question is this: if I want to run an op on a principal, all right, this is my target, okay. What do I have to do to run this is a very elaborate operation. How would I run an elaborate operation like this on a target? Well, first thing you got to do is fix the target, right? You got to know that, okay, I know he's going to be here, for sure. Otherwise, it's like, well, now he's over here. Well, now he changed his plans. And that happened to me. I prepared about 7 different contingencies for a target that, had changed his patterns of life every day. Even times when I knew he had scheduled travel at the airport, it was the only flight that day, and and then he didn't show up. Like, damn. So now, and so, and I devised all kinds of ways. Okay, if he does this, we'll hit him with this. If he does that, we'll do this operation. If he does that, we'll run this out. So we had a whole litany of operations. Now I can't see how they could have possibly, like, for example, the guy that you said invited, the uncle said, "Hey guys, you get to stay at my hotel suite." And okay, so they go, "Great, thanks, uncle. We're going to do that." And then, what's keeping them from going a week out or day out or 2 days out? Hey, we had to change our mind. We had to change our plans. Where goes that off? Right? It's out the window. And so he became a target of opportunity. So what that meant was there's no way they could have planned that. I would argue they had to know without a doubt this guy was going to stay at this hotel for sure. Now they might have had some pre-planning done, some preparations done, but there's no way they could have known for sure you're exactly going to be there. Because, by the way, this is the United States, right? There's all kinds of things that could have happened. So to run an op like that, first of all, you got to be able to fix the target. You have to know for a shadow of a doubt he's going to be here, and so then you build your plan around it. Otherwise, you've got to build multiple plans.
If I give you a year, if I tell you I got a commitment from MBS that 1 year from now, he and the family are going to be at the Four Seasons. Now, the way I did it was I just had Ashura with him at my palace in 2016, and he was my guest. And I said to him, "Why don't you take the family to the Four Seasons?" And he said, "That's awesome. I love Vegas." And he's already accepted. So if I got MBS to accept the invitation, and you've now got a year, you got 1 year to pull this off.
Yeah.
Right? Is that enough? You got guys training in country, right? How do you separate? So here's a key thing. If you've got pilots training at Boeing in Arizona that are going to participate in this op, how do you know that all the pilots that are training in Arizona are loyal to the Wahhabi factors and not the MBS factor? And what if the 5 guys I choose, one of the guys is double crossing me and is actually loyal to MBS? I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you know all these guys are loyal?
You don't just get to borrow a helicopter in the middle of the night from
Right.
Boeing. You're going to take one of your training helicopters and go for a fun ride. They're going to account for. Look, they're not stupid. They're not going to leave a machine out there, unguarded, unsecure, so you could do stuff like that. I don't think so. That's a stretch. I don't think people are that damn irresponsible.
See, I think they are. I think they're
Maybe
lazy.
they are. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they just trust these guys so much. I don't know. It's possible, I guess, but
I
that's a
mean,
pretty. But you made a
does an
good point.
AH6i come with a key? I mean, there's no key. You just got to know the sequence to push the right button. There's no key.
Exactly.
And it's Sunday night. It's a Sunday night.
Yeah.
It's like Sunday night, 7 o'clock. Nobody's paying attention.
Well, the other question is, okay, it's not even a question, so it's just a consideration is, okay, you got pilots, they're probably already got night vision goggles, they're training on that anyway, so they know how to fly at night without, lights and things like that. So now you got shooters you got to put on the pods on the outside. What kind of
Right.
weapons are you going to use and where are you going to get the weapons from?
Small arms.
Sounds like full auto weapons on top of that. You're going to need something, a mass casualty producing weapon. But it was a small arm. So again, this is why I think it was 7.62. I think you're gonna, I think you're gonna get from that range, and that's why I said it had kind of a slower cyclic rate that reminded me of something like a 7.62 or AK-47. And so you hear the reverb, the echoes off the buildings. Now the question is, could you hear the muzzle blast from under the rotor wash in a helicopter at that distance? I don't think it would make that much noise. So I think the sound that you heard was the rounds actually slapping concrete or whatever, and that's where we're giving you that sound. But it wasn't coming from the muzzle report itself, because I think it might have been suppressed at that distance, that height under the rotor wash. But I could be wrong. But then again, they could have suppressed the weapons too up there. I don't know. But I'm starting to see your theory here, and I'm kind of inclined to believe you. Now, the other question I have is, why would they have the principal target leave? Like, hey, you got to get out of here right now. Why would you expose him? If you're his security, I think you go, you know what? Stay your ass in the room. Don't come out. We're going to come down the hallways and stairwell until we get the police here and we lock this place down. Why would you expose the principal and run him into an SUV unless somebody was in on that too, on that operation, right? So the security guys go, hey, you know what? He's part of the plan. He goes, I'm going to bring him out. We're going to put him in this car. And then, this is what we're going to do, because the timing of that, and then you said the vehicle was engaged by who and with what, right? And did we get round strikes on that? Did we recover bullets, right?
That's what we're going to hear about. So again, the narrative that they share with the public, it's a fairy tale. I mean, they're not going to tell you that SUV was struck. I mean, we see it struck. We see it that it's hit. We see the bullet holes. But they're not going to tell you that. They got to cover this up. They don't want. I believe MBS asked Trump, please cover this up so that I can take care of this my way. I will clean this mess up in 6 weeks. And in less than 6 weeks, he does that Night of the Long Sword at the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh and arrests Al-Walid bin Talal. He arrests Mohammed bin Nayef. He arrests, the offspring of Ibn Saud. He's arresting all the grandsons. It's like, dude, you can't do this. It's like arresting Bill Gates and Warren Buffett in the same night. It's like, what are you doing? That's what he did. And it was 5 weeks after the shooting. 5 weeks later, November 5th, he arrests all these guys in one night. All right. I want to play something for you that's consistent with what you're saying about this AK-47 sound. All right. There's an issue at the venue that I want you guys to hear this. So again, this is evidence that I don't think you've seen yet, and that's why it's important, because you got to consider all this evidence, right? So let's take a listen to this together. That's a cop picking up shell casings off the ground.
Doesn't look like he's wearing gloves either.
That's right. Keep watching, keep watching.
Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Then I don't know what department. If it's fucking CDAC, I'm DTAC. Okay. I was off duty. I was at this concert. Got my 2 people out of here.
That's what we've been told. Because there's a 20 people. There's a security guard from the 32nd floor that's been shot.
Fucking 20 people. There's a fucking 20 people. There's a fucking 20 people.
That's what we've been told. Because there's a 20 people. There's a security guard from the 32nd floor that's been shot in Lily Bay. Yeah.
I don't know if it's clear or not. They're all fucking headshots. They're all fucking headshots. They're all fucking headshots.
Here we go.
They're all fucking headshots. They're all fucking headshots. That's high caliber from the 36.
It sounded fully auto.
Yeah. Oh, it was auto. Yeah. I was looking for a flash.
We're used to here. Yeah. Down those areas. Do a body count, but I'm pretty sure all the body's been taken out by now. But yeah, more the merrier, man. Unless there's something more.
We're just doing a body count. They just want us.
Oh. Push kill. Kill.
Yeah. C2.
It's all been cleared?
I got 1, 2, 3 right here. If it's been cleared, don't.
Okay, medics only. Go in and touch. You want to check pulses over here? Looks like we got a couple down.
We've already cleared the shield. 419. Everything in here.
All right, guys, eyes out while they're clearing. Eyes out so you can watch for the medic. I'm gonna.
Now at Caesars and also at the airport. Also at the airport. Also at the airport.
And just be advised, there's an active shooter on the airport. This is a blanket broadcast for all aircraft. Just a heads up.
Also at the airport. Also at the airport. Also at the airport. Also at the airport. What's your status?
Steve.
I'll check over here. 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 6, right? 9, 10, 11.
Stop right at 11. Where'd you get 11 this one?
I got 11 is that guy that's laying right there in the white shirt.
We're up to 15.
Wait. 6, 7, 8.
Did you get these?
Here. I got all these. I'm just double checking pulses.
The right side is 25. I got 17. What do you got, like 15 to 20, right? I got 17 so far. This L from where we entered along this side.
Where's the rest of the? Where's the rest of our team?
They're right up here. Let's get the fuck out of here and get with the team.
All right.
Okay, we go with you guys.
What?
We go with you guys.
He can come out with us. We gotta get everyone out.
Let's go.
All right.
You want to
Time, and then I moved. Oh, thanks.
Our SWAT took down one suspect on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay.
They did.
Yeah.
That's high power though. They're all the pronouns I did were all headshots, bro.
But we know, and we have multiple different calibers. So I'm just saying we have at least one suspect down. There's most likely more than one.
Because you're right. So see, fucking right in the forehead, because everybody's looking straight.
Will you light this up?
Hey, shine it on him. Just make sure. Look at his forehead.
Yeah, that's fucking dead center.
Dead fucking center, dude.
All right. Yeah.
Shit.
That guy, see, same thing. That guy was a fucking headshot right in the fucking forehead.
What the fuck, man? There can't be that many headshots with that amount of people over here. Had to be targeted. It had to be targeted.
So there we go, gentlemen.
I've never seen any of that. That's
Yeah, where was that location at? Where was that spot?
That's in the concert venue, right in the right in front of the stage. Right in front of the stage.
22 headshot. And he did say different calibers, right? So
Different calibers, dead center in the forehead, like 20 people getting popped right in the head.
Somebody would have, that implies that maybe somebody in the crowd was going around shooting people. But if they're different calibers, I could also argue because it was plunging fire that the heads most likely would get shot first.
Sure.
On a lot of people, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
All really nice, clean shots. And if it's a high velocity bullet, like, assuming it was the 223 or even the 7.62, that's going to go through and through. That's going right through your melon.
7.62 for sure.
It will definitely open up like a watermelon, and even the 5.56 it'll over penetrate, no doubt about it. No doubt about it in my mind. And so that makes me wonder. Now you could shoot somebody with a 22 and not get over penetration.
Well, what if you're at 500 yards? So what if the shooter is 500 yards out? So it's bleeding off a lot of kinetic energy, and assume it's a 5.56. Assume it's a 5.56 round from 550 yards out, and it hits you.
That's not a surgical shot. That's just a Hail Mary shot. That was a guy just hoping he hit somebody in the head.
Okay, fair enough.
Because if I'm going to shoot you at 550 yards or whatever, I'm going to use something a little bit bigger.
Closed bolt. Yeah.
Right?
And a closed bolt.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I can get a straight shot, straight line, and hit you with it. So but the interesting part is, so now we got still shots fired later on, and that IR footage of those 4 or 5 people running, who was that?
So that's police helicopter footage. So from the police helicopter. And it appears we've got people walking around on the tarmac, and it also looks like some of the people walking around the tarmac are carrying rifles. So some of the guys I see, like they show up in IR as white, but I see a big black thing on their side. Now that's cold steel. So I think we've got some people out on the tarmac. The air traffic control stops ground traffic and says, we've got a shooter on the runway.
So that's, you know what? Well, think about that for a minute. If I was planning something this elaborate, which by the way, I got to admit, it's pretty damn good.
Pretty serious, right? I mean, this is crazy, right?
That's a really good plan, but it's, everything
didn't work. Didn't work though. He lived, right? He got out. Yeah. He lived. So all this shit and it failed, right?
That's the part I don't understand is why go all through all that when you could have just had one dude go in there and let the air out of him with a handgun, get it over with, right? And then you could have come up with something even, like, I don't know how, you could have one
I think
guy.
That's what they thought, Dale. I think the original plan was the 3 guys who are visiting Paddock, take the AKs, go upstairs. They're the tip of the spear. They're supposed to kill him. I'm thinking they all got killed upstairs. I think you get 3 dead Saudis up on the 38th floor. Nobody's talking about that either. I think there was a firefight up there. I think MBS's guys killed the 3 assassins and said, boss, we got to go now. And they whisk him out of there and they get him to Maverick helicopter. And Maverick does the exfiltration of his entourage. We see on flight radar, I see 7 helicopters depart. But we've got an eyewitness that said, no, there were like 13, 14 helicopters from Maverick. So that's his whole entourage. And they exfiltrate from Maverick. So they get him out of the building, get him over to Maverick helicopter, and get him out of there. So there must be some exfiltration protocol that the guys who are planning this know all about because they're former GIP guys themselves. They know what the exfiltration protocols are. They know, they know what these plans are. So they plan accordingly.
I think there's too many loose ends that would get him compromised. somebody's going to go, that's bullshit. They just flew out with 14 helicopters. I saw a bunch of Saudis. They did. Where did they go with our helicopters? I think what's more plausible is, okay, I don't believe Paddock was just a Looney Tune and went up there and did that just because he lost his freaking mind. I never did believe that anyways. It just made no sense. Why would you carry all that shit up there to just do that? None of that makes sense. What does make sense is if he checked in with 3 chicks, the honeypot scenario does make sense, very likely. And so
would you use it? Would you use a honeypot if you had female assets that you're allowed to bring on the team, and you need a guy to provide the weaponry out of country? All right. So let's say you're trying to do an assassination in a country I'm familiar with. Let's say it's in Thailand, and getting weapons in Thailand is difficult. But if you can honeypot a Thai guy, you can find a rich Thai guy. Rich Thai guys can get guns, right? So now how do we honeypot a rich Thai guy? But you've got assets available to you, but it's going to take months, right? I mean, it's going to take 6 months to develop somebody to this level right?
There's so much that goes into that because you spot the potential guy, but then there's an assessment process. Is he the right guy?
Right.
And so how do you look? Women are they're our Achilles heel, man, and they know how to do this. They're very good at it. So in time they go, yeah, he is the right guy. And then
how long you plan for that? So if you're trying to set expectations, you're going to say, look, I'm going to target a guy, but I need them to assess whether he's the right guy. That's going to take us 4, 6, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. What do you need to do that assessment?
Yeah, you need to find out what his vulnerabilities are. Like for example, does he need money, or is he just is he all alone? And maybe some dude that can't get laid, and or maybe he's there's a lot of things to look at his background. What makes him look? It's like recruiting a terrorist, right? Who do they recruit? They recruit young men, 18, 19. They want to belong to something, belong a part of something, whether it's the Boy Scouts or the church choir or a terrorist organization that, and so they do the same thing. They develop this guy, go, yeah, he's the right guy. He's got all the right background. He's vulnerable. And then, so he does become that guy. And then they go, you know what? Our friends are coming in town. Look at all the Lamborghinis we got. We're going to do the shooting thing tomorrow. Yeah, right. You got all the guns. Okay, cool. Let's put them all in the bags and boxes, and let's stay in a hotel tonight. And I've actually hauled guns into hotels all the time. And so then let's just say, maybe this is what happened. Maybe at some point, they had already coordinated with 1 or 2 other guys to come up to that room when Paddock was not aware. Maybe he's back to getting a blowjob or something. And while that's going on, a couple of chicks hand him some freaking, they hand him a few of the weapons that they're going to use. Here you go. Here's a couple of guns. Maybe that's why we had all these magazines, because that was part of the operation. Maybe that's how they set it up. Or maybe they flew their own shit in, and maybe the getaway aircraft was somewhere on the Las Vegas airstrip. And that's why you saw these guys trying to exfil across the runway, because they're trying to get out of Dodge. You mentioned medevac.
Earlier, you mentioned medevac. There is a medevac plane that lands at 10 o'clock. Shooting begins at 10:05.
Yeah.
10 sharp. A citation. C-550. With a medevac call handle.
There you go.
Which is bullshit. Right? I mean, that's how you guys get from point A to point V is, we're medevac. We got kidneys on board. Bullshit. Who was on the plane that landed at 10 o'clock, taxied to Signature Flight Services, and just as it pulls up the Signature Flight Services, all hell breaks loose?
Yeah. There's your exfil bird right there. It's not the helicopters.
Well, or was that the secondary target? I believe the secondary target was Khalid bin Salman, the other son, the younger son. And I think he was just in Sacramento that day because the plane came in from Sacramento. And I think he was with Jared Kushner. I think Jared Kushner was there that night as a guest of MBS and KBS. And I think that's why Jared Kushner got the $2 billion credit line. They are brothers forged in blood. I think Jared Kushner and MBS escaped that night together.
Wow.
Yeah. I think he was a guest because it was Ashura. And so in other words, Ashura is something that Muslims and Jews can kind of claim they have in common. To Jews, they just call it Passover, and then Muslims call it Ashura, but it's the same story. Everybody, they all tell the same exact story. And for MBS to invite Jared Kushner to be his guest, and Ivanka potentially, and that they're there with him and escape with him, well, Ivanka sure did get out of politics right after this. And she was with the president at the G20. She looked to me like she was getting groomed to be the next generation of Trump presidents, quite frankly. I thought Ivanka was going to be the next female president, the first female president, and the next Trump president. But then she gets out of politics, almost like she got scared. And Jared gets a $2 billion credit line from MBS. Wow. That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, all this, yeah.
And they're running around the airport with guns, and you got air traffic controls, and we got a shooter on the runway.
Yeah.
Nobody's heard any of this stuff. Nobody's seen any of this stuff. This is one of the biggest cover-ups until the COVID thing and the asteroid thing. This is one of the biggest cover-ups since JFK. An assassination attempt on American soil of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia with their helicopters that they bought from us. It's like, and by the way, you're talking about contingencies. They were trying to kill MBS before this, and they've been trying to kill him since this. There's been multiple attacks on him, and they keep failing. It's like these are it's like all this planning and all this complicated shit with helicopters, and you failed. And they did it again. They did it in Riyadh. There was an attack on the palace. They've been trying to kill this guy, once a year at least. So the fact that they keep failing, thank God. I think he's a good guy. I think he's good for Saudi Arabia. I like what he's doing. The developments he's doing are incredible. But again, now that you've had a chance to see some of this stuff, and they're talking about zip lines and helicopters, and it's like, holy shit. The planning that went into an op like this to honeypot a guy, get him to provide the weapons, because, it may be difficult for them to get small arms into the hotel. How are they going to do that? Well, you get a white guy to do it. And like you said, get a white guy who thinks he's got a new girlfriend. Major upgrade from Mary Lou Danley. Mary Lou, she's about as exciting as being with a sheepdog or something. She's not a turn on. Who the hell wants to be with Mary Lou Danley? So
all the evidence,
he's got a new girlfriend. He's doing the dance, man. He's all excited. He ships the old one out with $100,000. He's like, get the hell out! Go visit your mom. Get out of here. Here's $100,000. Go spend the year in the Philippines. I got a new girlfriend.
See, all the information you just shared, I never knew existed. Never heard of it before. So I knew what happened that night. There was something wrong with that. There's bullshit. It made no sense. And so, but now that my thought was, okay, this was someone on the left, or somebody wanted to, again, it was another attempt to, ban firearms, so they banned the bump stock, which, blah, blah, blah. And it tried to attribute it to, crazy white guys with guns, mass shooting, right? I thought maybe that was what they're trying to do again, is just drive that home again, go, we got to get rid of guns. But now that you're bringing all this other stuff up, it's like, okay, that changes the whole landscape, because now we got helicopter, we've got brass a couple blocks away on the street. We got things here that are not we got guys with guns on the air at the airport. We've still got shooting going on.
We got shot right in the head.
Yeah, I know about MBS and the shots to the head, and then Okay, so now nobody knew about the police reports because I didn't know. Everybody assumed it was an AR-15 with a bump stock, right? And then there was no mention anywhere ever of an AK-47.
No.
And I saw the goddamn thing.
Right.
And so, now you're telling me there's coffers or suitcases full of freaking AK-47 magazines. And then I'm thinking about the cyclic rate that I'm listening to. It said that don't sound like AR-15 5.56.
And
That
the
sounds
cops are saying the same thing. Cops said, I heard AK. The cops said, AK, man, that was AK fire. That's what the cops said. The cops are there. You got eyewitnesses corroborating what you just said, saying, no, dude, that was AK fire, man.
So so far I'm tracking. I'm thinking what happened was it was an elaborate plan. I don't know if I think it was actually I think they just been watching too much freaking Jason Bourne shit because why would you send a bird up with shooters from a moving platform in the dark? No doubt the pilots on night vision goggles because they're running black. They turn off their transponders. Okay, nobody knew that, but you're gonna take a shot with probably not with a full automatic weapon. You're just spraying and praying, and you're gonna kill a lot of people, and you're gonna try to blow up a tank too. To what end? What's the effect? What are you trying to do? You're trying to kill a guy that's inside his hotel room that's covered down.
Trying to flush him out. You're trying to flush him out because your feeling is you get him into the motorcade. If you get him into the motorcade, he's toast. If you guys can get him to exfiltrate to the motorcade, and again, I think the guys who are planning this are like, well, we know the exfiltration protocols. We put them in place. We know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If we create bedlam outside, we know the security guys are going to take him to the motorcade and they're going to go out of the, and they get
So they did engage the motorcade, and you would think that would be the critical part. That's the linchpin. That's got to be flawless, right?
Right.
So just putting a couple rounds into it and not finish the job, that's amateur hour there. That's why I said this sounds something like Hollywood shit. They watched so many damn movies and thought it would be cool, and a lot of it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I think it was over elaborate because you could have done a better job. If flushing him out was the mission, you know what? I could have staged something a little bit better than that, where I would have not had to use so many assets, so many loose ends, so many opportunities for compromise. I would have done something a lot slicker and cleaner. And if he did get into the vehicle, I would have already had a plan in place. Because look, if they did succeed in killing him, look, the rabbits, it's out in the open. You guys came here somebody killed the guy on purpose. He was the target.
That's
So
right.
I
There'd
would
be
have
no
had a
covering it
better
up.
plan. I would have had
It's very important. It's important for people to understand that. So if the mission was successful,
I would have had another car bomb, or I would have had an AT-4. I would have had another means, an IED to kill that guy. I would have ambushed him on the road. I already had all that set up. I would have had a strike team somewhere pre-positioned with all their vehicles. So no matter which way he went, we're going to stop him and we're going to smoke him right there, right? So that part was the critical part of the plan. That sounded like they did the least amount of planning on. And I think they could have done that part much better. All this other shit was just a
Hollywood. It's for show, right? It's for show.
You killed a lot of Americans needlessly to go after one guy. You could have killed him more efficiently in a better way. And that makes no sense. And why? And again, and why is the police department, why are these guys not revealing the truth about what they actually found? Why is there not a full report, full investigation? And you know what? And I got another point here because I'm not surprised. A lot of people go, conspiracy, but none of it's adding up. None of it's adding up. And I think I at least have the skill set and the experience to look at this and go, yeah, it's bullshit. I can do the forensics on it based on my background and how I would run an op. So I'm tracking with you on this one. I think there's a couple things that are not explainable. The zip line thingy, I think they did get out, maybe, but some of it, that part, I'm a little fuzzy on. But I think they did pop Paddock in the head, killed him, because he's the guy that could tell the whole story, and they got rid of him. But so where I was going to go with this is, and maybe we should add another one of these on the 9/11 conspiracy, right? The Twin Towers. I'd love to talk about that one because I've done the analysis on that one, and everybody's well, that was an inside job. That was an inside job. And maybe we can set it up for the next one because here's what I believe. I believe that, okay, it was an inside job only in that it was the planning was facilitated, but the actual execution was not. In other words, those buildings that came down were not blown up from the inside. We had no hand in that physically. Those airplanes did bring that down, and I can show you all the evidence, everything that goes along with that to prove it. And then they're going, well, building 7, blah blah blah. Well, how'd that go down? Well, I can explain all that.
All right. So I got the building 7 story though. So
save that.
All right.
I think we should save it because I think that's another one of those things that
I got the inside track on that.
Yeah, and I got a lot to add to that one too. I've done quite a bit of work on that because I have a background in explosives, extensive, and I know that those buildings came down by aircraft. I know how building 7 came down, but the question is, how do those assholes come to our country and take flight lessons, and how do they coordinate all that and fly aircrafts into the building? And that's where the question mark is, right? And that kind of is in alignment with this scenario. How do these guys come to our country and actually running up like this? And you mean nobody knew? The FBI didn't know this? Look, dude, I happen to know that when you have a foreign service come to our country, they don't get to just walk around unattended or out without surveillance. We're watching everybody. And we got people, that's what they do. I assure you that when the Saudis came, even the pilots were here for training. Somebody was watching them. Somebody was surveilling them.
Not well enough. Not well, right? I mean, not well enough.
Or well enough, and they let it happen.
Well, that's like Butler. So that's the insinuation with the Butler attempt is it was sort of allowed to happen, right? So you turn a blind eye, right? What water tower? Why would we need a guy on the water tower? What water tower? So if it was allowed to happen, I mean, it's very similar to Butler. Exactly. And spooky is all shit, man. If this is inside the government and our own people are letting shit, like Butler happen, that's about as scary as it gets, man. That's our own people.
Even 9/11, right? When the talk of the Mossad and others in the area at the same time, there's a lot of questions out there, and
I'd love to talk to you about it. I used to work at One World Trade Center, by the way. I worked on the 79th floor of One World Trade Center. Oh yeah.
There's a lot.
Very personal for me.
But,
very personal. I worked in that building, and the best man at my first wedding. So ex-wife number 1. So the best man at that wedding was evacuating people from Building 7 in uniform. He was a sergeant, NYPD sergeant at the time, in uniform, and was in Building 7 evacuating people as it was on fire. And I'll tell you guys more of the story next time we get together. When we get into that, I'll tell you the story from his perspective. So he was in there. He was in the building carrying people out. And I'll tell you what he told me. And I carry a courtesy shield, an NYPD courtesy shield, and it's his badge. So it's the guy who was in World Trade Center 7. So we'll talk about that next time. I wanted to share with you this evidence so that you can start kind of rethinking your thoughts about holy mackerel. If in fact this was an op, like Cullen is suggesting, and this was an assassination attempt that these guys started thinking through 2 years prior, placed MBS at the scene a year prior, start developing female honeypot assets to find them. I mean, the extent of an operation like this that has geopolitical ramifications of this magnitude. I mean, you talk about an op, man. This is if in fact it is what I think it was, this has to be one of the top 10 all-time assassination plans, and they failed. They blew it. And like you said, it's like they went Hollywood. What the hell did 6 helicopters for? What are you doing? Yeah. What's the Hollywood thing? And the funny thing is the Jason Bourne movie was filmed in Vegas with them blowing everything up, and they did exactly what you suggested. So I can't thank you enough, Dale. That this was awesome. And I think that now that you've seen some of this stuff, you might start, moving some of the pieces of the puzzle around and maybe we'll have to do another session, and I'll show you what I think is the LVMPD blowing out that window at 12:23 a.m. And I think you're right. I think they put a charge. I think you're right. I think they put a charge on the window and used the detonator and just blew it, because Levi Hancock loves using his incendiary. She's got the tape with the putty. He's got the tape with the putty, and he's got his charge initiator, right? And he loves blowing shit up. He can't wait to breach the next room. Yeah. So if you get to stick it to the window and he can't wait to do that. He loves that shit. We got to get some of that. I need some of that breaching shit, Tommy.
Yeah, for sure. That wasn't a shotgun charge. Wouldn't do that.
Okay. All right.
Definitely some type of small explosive. You don't need a lot for that. Very small amount. Very small. But yeah, this is all just fascinating, man. And here's the thing, man. You know, maybe the cops do know a lot of this information, and maybe it was put out, but who controls all the media, right? They control the narrative, right? They control. Well, and
they're so good. They're so good, man. I mean, when you think about it now, and you think about the narrative they sold the public versus what I'm suggesting happened, the delta between those two is so big.
Oh, they're great.
You have to tip your hat to these.
You gotta just shake your head and nod.
You're like, damn, they are good, man.
It's evil, but God, you gotta.
Holy shit! And they got everybody believing Thomas Crooks on the roof shot at the president. It's like, damn, these guys are good. Damn, they're good.
It's like watching Michael Jordan.
In this world, today's world, man, it's not hard to freaking fool people, man. They're so damn gullible and naive. They all suffer from what is that?
Dunning-Kruger. Yeah.
You know, they all think they're smarter than what they are. You see all these guys with PhDs and blah, 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 run their freaking bio hole, and they don't know a damn thing, but they're so gullible. You know, my mother said one time, you can buy an education, but you can't buy intelligence. And that's what we're suffering from. We got a lot of really dumb, naive, gullible people, and they'll believe anything that you present to them. And I can't wait till we talk about the 9/11 thing, because there's a lot of things that I've got notes on this shit. The stuff I listen to, but there's just one thing it proves to me is, I would argue that 90% of society is literally, they're just a bunch of zombies, man. They're just like a bunch of mushrooms. You leave them in the dark, feed them shit, and they just kind of blossom down there in the cellar, man. But and they just go with it, and they can't fathom the idea that maybe there's something bigger than all of us out there doing this stuff. And of course there is. I've because of the things I do in life, have done in life, man, I've had the opportunity to walk on the dark side many times, and I've seen things that just, you got to be kidding, man. This is actually happening. And the average person most people would never believe it, right? It'd be too fantastic. I think we talked about UFOs one time and UAPs, people ask bullshit, and man, anyways, I won't go down that road right now, but that's another topic.
We should do that. Yeah. I'd love to we should have that discussion too. So we got two more shows, Tommy. We got two more shows to play, 9/11 and UFOs.
As many as we want, man.
We need to wake people up,
Well, I'm glad that you've got, the open mind to consider all this new evidence and to look at this and say, hey, wait a second, this changes things quite a bit. We've got guys getting a shot straight in the forehead. I got a whole bunch of eyewitnesses saying the shooters are in helicopters. We got helicopters flying the wrong way. Window doesn't appear to be, it's like, holy mackerel. It's like, how much of the story that you guys told us was based in any kind of reality? You guys just make this shit up. Yeah. They just make the shit up, but you still have to hand it to them. Their ability to sell the public on these bullshit narratives is really remarkable. It's not just the American public; it's the world. Right? With COVID, right? We're wearing 10 people dead in Hong Kong, and everybody's losing their mind. It's like, why? It's like, God, you guys are good at this shit. So with that, my friend, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate you taking this into consideration.
Lightning for sure. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I made a note. We'll set up the 9/11 one right after this. That was fucking great. We almost just did 3 hours. I mean, a 3 hour show.
Yeah, 2 hours and 40. Yeah, there you go.
Fucking great.
All right.
But Mr.
Have
John
a great
Cole,
night, Dale.
Dr. Dale Comstock. Guys, please go to the description. Please go follow them on Twitter. Dale's coaching, his books, John's Twitter, his YouTube, his Subscribe Star, Patreon, all that stuff. Go follow all of it, and I will set up the next one. I'll email you.
One more thing before you sign off.
Yeah.
I am not suicidal. I don't want to die. I love my life. Okay. And I'm in Antarctica right now, by the way, on a fishing trip. Just in case anybody wants to-
I have, there's so many episodes I've done where I'm like, is this the one that kills me, that I no longer know which one it is anymore? And I don't even do that. I'm not suicidal. I just, hey man, I'm right with God. I'm like, whatever happens. I don't even fucking, whatever. You guys look after yourselves. This podcast is going to kill me in more than one way. So whatever, fuck them. But guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll do another one. Thank you for your time, John, Dale. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for watching.